This is the presentation for Chapter 12 in the Rothermel textbook on corporate governance and business ethics. In this presentation, I combine the content on corporate governance and business ethics to explore the mechanisms that align the behaviors of employees with the interests of the companies that employ them. These include legal and regulatory frameworks along with in-company policies, the principal-agent relationship, and morals and ethics. The purpose is to understand the levers that are used to ensure people are working in the best interests of the firm as it pursues superior organizational performance. In Chapter 2's discussion of strategic leaders, we noted that strategic management is an organizational phenomenon, but that strategic decisions are actually made by individual managers. In other words, a firm has strategies, but it's people who determine what those strategies will be. This is an important distinction that has implications for human motivations. While officially acting as fiduciaries for a company, individuals will always have their own preferences and motivations in mind, which then may sway their strategic decisions. For instance, executives regularly face choices that may impact co-workers who are also their friends, or have implications for their own future promotions or compensation packages. On the other side, firms want their employees to work very hard in the pursuit of gaining advantages and winning business. They want their employees to give their all while at work. As such, firms do their best to design mechanisms and standards that encourage employees to work on behalf of the organization, even if they have their own self-interests. Organizational design, covered in Chapter 11, has a significant impact on employee behaviors. This chapter covers 3 other types of mechanisms. First, laws and regulations, as well as internal company policies, set minimum standards for employee behaviors. Let's start with laws and regulations. Most times you know if you are breaking the law or not, but unfortunately, complying with laws and regulations is not always as easy or as straightforward as you think it would be. While most are clear and regularly enforced, others are not. It's like a speed limit on roads or freeways, which drivers regularly exceed, or a stretch of road where there are no speed limit signs, so you don't necessarily know what the speed limit is. Laws and regulations are often complex and difficult to monitor and enforce, but companies and their employees are expected to follow them nonetheless. The complexities expand when firms have multi-state or international operations, meaning that they will have to abide by multiple versions of laws and regulations, including in situations in which those laws and regulations may actually conflict with one another. In the end, however, people are expected to operate within the law, and egregious violations can lead to punishment for employees that commit the violations, or for the firm if the violations are systematic. While laws and regulations apply to all people in every firm doing business within a jurisdiction, company policies apply only to the specific firm's employees. At any formalized organization, you will run into policies on issues such as managing data, hiring or firing employees, and preparing operational or financial reports. Generally, company policies tell employees how things are supposed to be done and set ramifications if an employee breaks a policy. Next is the principal-agent relationship. As you learned in your prior management classes, principals are people who control resources and need to get something done, and agents are people who have available time and skills to accomplish what the principal wants to do. This is the theory that underlies most boss-subordinate relationships. Agreements are in place when a hiring authority, the principal, offers a job and a compensation schedule to a person who is available and qualified for the job, the agent. Note that anyone who reports to a superior while having direct reports themselves, which includes just about every manager or executive, will both be a principal and an agent at the same time. The text phrases the principal-agent interaction as a problem. Problems arise if the agreement is unbalanced due to information asymmetries. Information asymmetries arise when one party knows something that the other party does not, and if the party did know, they would be unhappy with the agreement. For example, imagine 2 people, Sally and Johnny. Both have the same jobs and both report to Steve. If Steve pays Johnny more than Sally for the same work, Sally would be unhappy. If her displeasure is strong enough, she'll quit. thereby breaking the principal-agent relationship with Steve. The problem can be reversed as well. Say Billy hires Julie to do a job that he expects will take 8 hours a day, and he pays her for the full 8 hours. But Julie knows that she can actually get everything done in 5 hours a day. If Billy learns that Julie is only working 5 hours a day but getting paid for 8, he will be unhappy with the agreement. In all, appropriately constructing principal-agent relationships makes people feel like they're in fair deals, both as employees and as supervisors. Getting the right people into properly structured jobs with fair compensation packages makes people comfortable with their employment contracts. Notice that both laws, regulations, and policies, or the rules that you have to follow, and the principal-agent relationship, or the agreements that you make with your employer, are both guided by external parties. Morals and ethics, on the other hand, are guided by your character and how you choose to interact with the world around you. First, let's differentiate between morals and ethics. Consider morals to be bright lines between right and wrong. Thou shalt not kill is an example of a moral standard. While many commonly held morals end up being codified into law, morals can be anything that you would reject out of principle regardless of where you find yourself. Ethics as standards of behavior are blurrier. Ethics exist on the good side of morals. If something is immoral, then it is also unethical. But each of us has our own views on what we consider to be acceptable behaviors and what are not. Our standards arise from our upbringings and experiences and the groups and societies and cultures that we belong to. In addition, what is considered to be ethical behavior can change based on who you are interacting with as well as the setting. What is acceptable when joking around with your friends is probably different than what would be acceptable when you are at work or around family. Second, we all know people who are more relaxed about things or more stringent when it comes to judging an action or behavior. That is, what one person considers to be slimy, another person could think is just fine. The point is that ethics are personal. To set baselines for ethical standards, regardless of personal points of view, some professional bodies publish their own set of expectations for their members. Most businesses have codes of conduct or statements of ethics that all employees are expected to follow. If you are a member of a professional association, such as the American Institute of CPAs for Accountants or the CFA Institute for Investment Professionals, you will have to sign a statement of ethical behavior every year. So because what is considered moral and ethical is mostly a personal point of view, judging whether an act is upstanding can lead to confusing interpretations. Think of the number of political issues in our world today that have people, even neighbors, with diametric viewpoints. This is the reason that firms and associations publish their expectations. Unfortunately, the 3 guides to behavior, laws, regulations, and policies, the principal-agent agreements, and moral and ethics, do not always lead to clear determinations about behavior in business settings. In some cases, they do. Behaviors like fraud or insider trading are clearly on the wrong side of all 3. If you are doing something that is egregious, you do so with certainty that is wrong, but with the hope that you won't get caught. Other behaviors are more open to interpretation. For instance, many companies, with the help of advisors, search for ways to reduce their tax burden using imperfections in the tax code. Some of the ways they can do so can be shady, which is the reason why the IRS has an active investigative team and is regularly taking companies to court. So-called dupe products are clearly benefiting from the design work of a popular product, even if minor differences allow them to skirt copyright and trademark infringements. While these types of activities are not expressly illegal or immoral, they certainly operate in gray areas. The really difficult situations arise when every option available to you is legal and ethical, but would lead to a difficult decision. For instance, many well-regarded firms have adopted ESG policies, which favor investing in or doing business with other firms that have publicized their commitment to environmental, social, and governance practices. Other well-regarded firms discount ESG standards. Both are defendable choices. The hiring or firing of an employee can also lead to confusing decisions. For instance, hiring managers often give better assessments to people who are like them, went to similar schools, or have similar backgrounds. This is just human nature. However, those same proclivities can lead to discriminatory decisions. So even people with the best of intentions and a commitment to fairness can find themselves in iffy positions. All three of the guides to behavior are pertinent to boards of directors. Boards are comprised of people who are selected to guide the overall direction of the organization, some of whom also have executive positions within it. In special cases, the same person both chairs the board and serves as CEO. Boards are subject to the same guides to behavior as any other party, just in a more visible way. Boards of publicly traded firms take on legal responsibilities, including personal accountability for signing off on financial results that are submitted to the Securities and Exchange Commission. Boards engage in principal-agent agreements when they select, evaluate, and compensate the firm's senior leaders, especially its CEO, and review and approve the firm's strategic trajectories, capital structures, and major investments. Last, boards have ethical responsibilities to shareholders. While this should be obvious, board members often have personal relationships with the CEO and other top lieutenants, meaning that they have a rapport with the very people they are expected to monitor and judge. But board members are expected to put the needs of the shareholders above their personal feelings and act as true fiduciaries. Because of their position of power, the actions and decisions of a board as a whole, as well as its individual members, has an outsized impact on a firm. What a board does and how it acts will signal to the rest of the firm what is acceptable and what is valued. Because of this influence, boards are always watched closely by employees at all levels, as well as by investors in the firm. In summary, this presentation covers some of the guides to behavior in strategic management. The starting point for understanding these guides is the interaction between employers and employees, regardless if that interaction is between a board of directors and a CEO or between a shift manager and an hourly employee. Both parties have their own interests. To create alignment between them, we follow laws, regulations, and company policies, we create agreements between principals and agents, and we establish moral and ethical standards. The hope is that these guides lead to good results achieved in the right way. And that concludes this presentation.